Yeah, that one sounds cool.
I like that one.
That one's cool too. Yeah, that one works. Hi guys, I'm Daniel.
And I'm Jess, and
We're
Fonts
Fonts
the
the
Duo.
Duo.
So, last episode we went over the recording process with our good friend James, who is our very talented drummer.
He's a wonderful person.
Yes. We talked influences, songwriting, our experience at metalwork, and it was really great to have him on the show.
Remember to like, subscribe, that way you can keep up with the latest Fonts news. This week, I thought that we would focus more on the experimentation that went behind the making of the song. Like I said, I just kind of like to mess around with the song for a while. I did a lot of guitar work for this one. I used my Strat, and I have this pedal, let me show it to you guys. It's called the Hall of Fame 2. I really like it. It has a lot of cool reverb effects. I used the mod effect and I played it with a phaser effect on my amp, and that kind of sets a lot of ambience that's throughout the track the whole way through. And I also added kind of like single swells of like vibratone effect on the guitar to each side. There's some parts of the song that have like 4 guitars going on because the acoustic goes on throughout the whole track, and then there's all these electric guitar parts. There's like 2 solos going on towards the end. It was really fun.
This one we played a lot with different samples that were really new to it. I pretty much just let Daniel do his thing and experiment, and I kind of just give feedback.
I use this website that sells royalty-free samples, and I got like a monthly subscription. And then I would spend hours just kind of listening to microwave sounds, Morse code sounds, blocker combinations, UFOs, and I kind of would pick and choose. I got wind chimes as well. That was cool. And then I would just kind of place it onto the track, and just to, you know, kind of add up a little bit of fun. And Jessica and James sometimes too would give me feedback on whether I was going overkill or if it was sounding nice. Initially it was a lot of overkill with like the lasers and stuff, but over time it kind of started to flow better. We worked on the song since December, so we had a lot of time to experiment.
What really challenged me with the song was all of the harmonies that we did. I'd never done that many harmonies with a font song ever, really. And a lot of the harmonies were very different than what I was used to. And they were all recorded in our home
studio,
which we've talked about in previous videos, I think. Yeah, it's just our parents' closet. And we just like put a chair in there and the mics. It's a small little space, but that's what we've been...
We use a halo filter on the microphone. It's kind of like this purple foam thing that isolates the vocal, and then because we're also in the closet, we got a pretty dry sound.
Daniel would let me just continuously run through riffs and harmonies as the song would go on, and we would just spend hours picking and choosing what sounded the best and what really worked for the song. And there's this one harmony in the bridge that I like a lot now, but I had a very difficult time trying to figure it out. It has like 4 different layers. It's an odd arrangement, and I was very frustrated in that point. But Daniel was like, no, just do this, and I was like, it's not gonna work,
Yeah, and then initially, she didn't like it, and then she heard it over time. She's like, no, I really like it now.
It's really fun. I just like it because it's different, I guess.
Yeah, it's kind of like jazzy.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool when we choose how we're gonna harmonize and who gets to harmonize. This song especially kind of highlights both of our vocals in different sections. We both kind of get to shine a bit with the harmonies.
Yeah, overall, I think there was a really nice ambience to the song, and Xavier did a really great job with it too.
Yeah, I'm really happy that I contacted Xavier. I find with acoustic music, a lot of the times for a lot of the artists that I really like, there's some kind of synth in the background while the acoustic is playing, just to add a bit more space and ambience. I really liked Xavier's music and was like, hey, would you wanna collab? I'm happy he did. I'm happy he accepted.
Me too. So we thought it would be really fun to talk about the song with Xavier, the synth wizard. So we're gonna hop on a Zoom call with him right now.
Hi!
How are
How's
you
it going,
doing,
Xavier?
I'm doing good. How are you guys?
Pretty good,
thank
man.
you.
How's quarantine been treating you?
Uh, it's a bit of a drag, but it's been a good opportunity with music. So
We wanted to talk today because you helped us a lot with Morse code, especially with like the synths part. It was very experimental for us to go that route. I told Jessica that you're a synth wizard.
Tell us about yourself and projects that you've done and what got you into music and all that jazz.
I've always lived in a very like musical household. Not in terms of playing instruments. Like my mom played piano. My dad doesn't really play anything. But he plays a bit of guitar. But there's always music going on. So like the good stuff, like some good 80s funk and a lot of ABBA. But yeah, just a lot of salsa too. Because my parents are both dancers. So a lot of salsa music, merengue, bachata.
Who are your biggest music influences?
I got like a big five.
Okay.
Probably number one of the past couple years is Kevin Parker from Tame Impala. He doesn't have like any weaknesses. He's completely indie. It's amazing. Peter Sagar from Home Shake. I was a lot more into rock until I heard him. Then I realized, oh, maybe I should go a bit more back to my like R&B roots. So, and he really got me into synthesizers and jazz. He's Mac DeMarco's old touring guitarist. The other three are Men I Trust. I prefer their old stuff because they got like a new singer and they kind of ruined the band for me, but it's still good. And definitely Radiohead. Yeah, the first band I got into was Muse, so I gotta put them in there just for old time's sake. I think Drones is the one that made me actually play guitar. There's a song called The Handler, and I just could not do music.
Oh, okay.
That's so beautiful.
Well, because like his guitar style is really unique, like the tones and everything that he chooses to. And like I've seen him when he picks his guitar, he'll pick behind the fret. So like he'll hit like the 6 strings behind the fret, and if it's really distorted, it does like this. Like, obviously cooler than that, but yeah. You have a lot of projects going on. Do you want to tell us a little bit about those?
The number one thing for me is my solo project, Echo Valley.
Yeah.
It's like in psychedelic indie rock or pop. I don't know what genre it is, but
It's banger.
Yeah,
That's the genre.
I actually started working on my mixtape recently.
Oh, that's awesome. Great news, man.
Whoa.
So I got all the demos done and I went to start doing good recordings, but my headphones broke on day one, so I had to wait for new ones to come in.
What headphones do you have?
I use a Sennheiser 280 Pro.
We wanted to ask you, you have like, a large array of gear. Like what kind of equipment like do you have for like synths and like programs and everything you use?
I like to think I don't have too much, but just kind of like the one of everything type of guy. So I have my guitars is over here and my bass. I have this drum kit behind me, which has been a lot of fun. That's been one of my big quarantine projects, is becoming a drummer.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
Got my synthesizer. You guys can't see it, but it's right here. Everything else is just kind of, microphones and speakers, all that kind of stuff.
Is the synthesizer that you have the first one you ever owned, or did you go through a process of looking for the right one, or how was that?
Oh, it was definitely took a while to pick one. Before I had a digital synthesizer, and for any like synth heads out there, it's just not the same. You need the real deal. So I had like Serum for a while, but it wasn't doing it for me. And I got my baby over here, which is a Chord Prologue. I haven't bought another one yet.
No, it's really nice, man. Like watching Xavier play with it is so funny because he's like, look at all these noises. Then he makes like the IMAX movie like one. He's like, watch this. He's like,
That's cool. Yeah. The one that's so loud in the movie.
We tried putting it into Morse code.
Really?
Yeah, we tried putting the
I forgot about that.
where the oohs were.
Yeah.
Yeah, we tried putting it there.
And you just were like finding a proper key.
Yeah, well,
We're definitely forcing it.
I don't know. We were like kind of forcing it, but it was fun.
Oh, okay.
Let's go a little bit more into like Morse code and how we went about building the synths parts. Because I've never played with synths before.
Yeah, me neither.
So one of the things that you did that was interesting was when we recorded the layers. It's like I know there's different waveforms for a synth. Like it can be square or like triangle. Like, can you go a little bit more into like
what those mean.
Yeah.
Synthesis, well, what I have is called a subtractive synth. The way it works is you can create kind of fundamental waveforms, and the three that mine has is a saw wave, triangle wave, and a square wave. You can combine those waves together to make more complex waves. You can add harmonics and just really make a nice vibrant sound, but it's very harsh. So what you do is you take a filter and then you sweep it so it takes out some of the highs, and then it becomes a little more nice sounding and pleasing. But you don't just have to do that. That's what I did for Morse code. There's all kinds of things you can do. Like the synthesizers are limitless in what they're capable of. Like, I could sit here for hours.
You do sit there for hours.
Yeah.
You remember what like highs are and the lows are, right?
Kind of.
So like in the frequency spectrum, remember I explained to you like EQ and how there's certain sounds that are perceived as higher or like lower. When we're talking, there's like a little bit of a whisper or something. So that would be more like the high end. Those are like the high pitched noises that you don't hear as much. The low voices would be like if the room was like kind of rustling or shaking something.
So you know, like on a piano, you keep getting higher or lower.
Right.
It's a lot like that, except an infinite amount of frequencies in between.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like each waveform has a different kind of sound to it. So triangle waves they're kind of soft, but they have a nice thick bottom end, so they're good for bass sounds. Saws are very kind of fizzy and work great for if you want like a brass sound or if you're making a pad. Square waves, I find them a bit hard to describe. You can use them for getting stuff like guitar tones, because a guitar, if you distort it, it starts clipping the waveform, and when it clips, you get that square. The more you do that, the closer it gets to a square wave.
And you can mix them up.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the options are limitless. You can make any sound you want.
If you look at the interface of his thing, it's like you literally see the diagram of what like signal he's using.
Yeah.
And then he plays around with all these other knobs that make it brighter or deeper. And
you do that in like while you're playing the synth, or you do that after you've already played what you want to play?
I do it before, so it's like you create the sound and then you play it.
Oh, okay.
And then in mixing, you can manipulate it even more.
Gotcha. Cool.
For Morse code, I remember we recorded the first kind of synth part in the beginning, but you also you put a clean piano with a plug-in, right?
Yeah. So I have I think I use Addictive Keys, or I was using a Rhodes piano, just like an electric piano.
Okay.
And they're all over like funk and jazz and stuff. They sound great.
Okay.
But was that a plugin you used for it?
Yeah. Well, what I did is my synthesizer, instead of recording the audio, you can record the MIDI data. So that's the notes you're playing, and you can apply that MIDI data to any virtual instrument you want. So I wasn't sure if synths would be quite right for the song, so I also wanted to see if Rhodes would work. So I just recorded the MIDI data, so it's the same playing.
You're just getting into being a producer too, right?
I'm about like just over 2 years in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's a lot of fun. Like when you have control over making an entire song, because like for me, my relationship with music was never like one instrument or just singing. It's like having that song
everything
just, like, put on.
Yeah.
I was lucky because my friend, he's an amazing producer. He's a hip hop guy, Cole Ballantyne. So he showed me like a bunch of stuff right off the bat. So I got a good head start.
You've been like producing a track every single night right now.
Wow.
Oh, not since I got back to Ottawa, but I was for a minute.
Wow.
Yeah, when he was away in a farm with his grandparents, and then he brought nothing but music. So it was either that or be bored.
Yeah.
Oh. No,
it's good.
amazing.
It's good though. Like, do you feel like you improved a lot from that experience?
Oh, definitely. Well, when I talk about like quarantine being a good thing, that's like the main thing I was talking about. A lot of practice and a lot of time on LinkedIn learning.
Yeah, you're telling me some courses on LinkedIn were good, like better than Bobby Osinski.
I'm not sure if I could say better than Bobby because he's the G.
I wanted to ask you as well. So we did the synth layering with the MIDI, and then for the second part of the song, there are 2 or 3 main synth parts in the song, right?
But yeah, maybe 3.
Like the first one you did, you layered the MIDI
with the synth. That one was like a really light sounding one, and the second verse was a harsher sounding one.
So yeah, at the beginning, well, when you wanted synths, I was trying to think about how to like fit it in. And at the beginning, it definitely felt like just more in the background, add a bit of texture, like not getting in the way of what you guys have done, because it was really nice already. So just like add a little bit in between the cracks. Then as it went a bit further, like I thought, okay, we can add energy with this.
It sounds like an ocean of magic. And Jessica really likes the arpeggio piece.
I think it's so good.
How'd that happen again? I think
It's because I would play it on the guitar. I'm like, just play this, but on the synth, and then he was like, okay. And then
do I take credit for it? Because I don't feel like I wrote that.
well, like you played it. You did it once with just how it was regularly being played on the Rhodes keys, I think.
Mhm.
And then the second time you also added it with synth, and then the third one you put MIDI on it. And then you were kind of at it for, I'd say, like 30 minutes trying to get the tempo and everything right to match the thing. Because I was making you learn it on the spot. I was being like, Xavier, play this. And he's like, what? We did 2 sessions together. Because remember the first one, I came over and it was more kind of experimenting in the sense of what I was kind of thinking and what artists I like. So I showed you like Death Cabs.
Black Sun?
Yeah, I showed you.
I listened to it yesterday. I was like, oh man, it's a great song.
It's an amazing song, and I'm like, I kind of like how the synths sound at this part kind of thing. And then we kind of started messing around a little bit until I was like, yeah, I like that. I told you like I really like Phoebe Bridgers stuff too. And for like Smoke Signals, how you kind of hear those like random keys being played throughout the song just to add texture. And I kind of tried to do that for the first pre-chorus. It was just random notes I hit. We kind of messed around like that. And then I show it to Jessica, and Jessica will be like, yeah, I like this is pretty, or she'll say like, I'm not really like a huge fan of this. And then the second time we went in knowing what we wanted and just kind of did it in like an hour or 2 and jammed for a long time after.
Yeah.
It was a fun time jamming with you.
Yeah, like it's always fun, especially like jamming with you and Maddie. You were both like so talented.
Oh, thanks, man. You've been working on a bunch of other stuff then?
Yeah, I'm just really in like the tape mode, because I want to get that done, have something out, like start a discography, so I can like offer my services to other people in terms of production, and just kind of have like that catalog.
Well, and you also just like, once it's out there, and you see how it does, and then you're gonna like improve like based on that. You kind of set expectations for people. People are like, oh yeah, he can like produce this, he's really good. Then the next thing you produce, you have to kind of work harder, kind of thing, to meet the standard.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it like pushes you.
I'm not sure if I'm too worried about that. I find my sound's kind of changing right now,
Mhm.
so I wanted to finish all these old songs, because if I'm going into like somewhere new that I like a lot, people are gonna give me like crap if I don't put out the old songs. So
So like you're like ready to scrap like just old stuff?
not scrap it. It's just I think that just going through a natural progression, and like some of the songs I'm putting on this are from October 2018.
Part of me wants to just be done with like a lot of songs that I've written for us too, or songs that I've written for myself, because it's kind of like I want to be at the point where I was before, where I had nothing, and like kind of move on from those songs and like grow in a new direction.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I haven't given those songs like a proper chance.
There are so many songs that I want to bring back too that he really doesn't want to. We released our first EP on SoundCloud.
He's heard it.
Oh, you've heard our first EP?
He heard EP.
I've heard it.
Oh my god!
Nice.
That's
It's
so
funny
cool.
listening to it. I'm like, oh, like Daniel's. You're in high school, right?
Jessica was in high school, and I was in
first or second year.
No.
Oh, third year.
Third. I was in third. It was like super experimental, and I had no knowledge of sound engineering or EQing or anything like that, but it was just fun. It was just like, I love making music, this is fun, I'm gonna release it, and it's so cool. People were like, oh yeah, it's cool. I remember showing it to one of my friends. He's like, yeah, like I think the guitar could be EQ'd better in this. And I was like, okay. So I went on Audacity. I think you have to download the plugin for the EQ, because when I tried opening up EQ on the track that my friend wanted me to, I clicked EQ and it did nothing. But I knew nothing about mixing or EQing, so I thought I did it. I thought all I had to do was click EQ, and then I was like, yeah, I think I did it.
I definitely know how you feel though, because I look at back at some of my earlier projects, and then I open up the EQs, and it's like some kind of weird mountain range. It's like, what was I doing?
I was so less critical of the work I was making back then. Like, it was kind of like, I loved doing it, and it was cool to me, and I wouldn't judge it as intensely. Now when I record, I am kind of like, oh, it needs to be
Perfect.
That's definitely like a difficult thing in the music process. It's finding that balance between like fighting against being perfect and getting it to a place you want it to be at.
For me, I don't know for you, but I told this to a lot of people. The most fun I have with recording music is not in the beginning. It's like when you're at the 70% mark, when it's like almost done, because that's when you get to like play around with the song and experiment. Laying down the song is not super fun. It's like you're just kind of setting the base work, and that's like a lot of work because that's your base. That's what sets everything up. But then once that's done, it's like, okay, now I can paint the picture and like toss this in and toss this in. Like that's the best part for me. Bit is kind of like, I just have to get through it.
I definitely know what you mean. Like sometimes I'll be doing like the bass elements, and I'll think to myself, wait, this isn't fun. I thought I liked music.
Yeah, no, it's work. It's like that part is work, but the next part is rewarding. So it's like it's all worth it. But yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, man, like I think now music is more, I'm definitely more critical and
Well,
hard
I
on
think
myself.
it's just because now it's still I'm doing music because I love it and it's fun, but it's also I'm doing music and I want to get better at it. Like it's become a goal now. Whereas when you're a kid and you're just starting out making music, it's not, your goal is just to get it out, to just finish it, I guess. And now it's like, okay, I've already finished it, but now I have to make new goals.
You just want to keep on growing, right? So you take previous criticisms and see like, okay, like why didn't this work? Like why wasn't this as good as this other song kind of thing? And then as you keep on learning more and more, and then you see the big artists that you look up to doing well, you're like, oh, they work really, really hard on this piece. It's not just like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna like do this and like night. Like sometimes it can be they make 15 versions of the same song and then they pick the best one and they do a new version of that one and they polish it up, and then that's the one they go with.
Yeah, you always see like the best artists are the hardest workers.
Yeah.
Kanye spending like summers where he'd make 5 beats a day.
Dang, man. Like I know Ed Sheeran was writing like 3 to 4 songs every single day. Like artists work really, really hard.
We gotta work hard too.
What did you think of the final product when you heard it? What did you think of Morse code in the end?
It was surprising, but like in a really good way. 'Cause like Mike added a whole dimension that I didn't even think of.
Me neither. I did not expect it.
Like the song was already like so good. I remember the first time Daniel played it for me, and it wasn't even like mixed or anything. And I was like, wow, this is like, the song has like a lot of dynamics and like the energy is great. Like the first thing I noticed was like it really went places, and like the drumming was so tight.
I know.
I know James
was
Jesus. Like Mike is great for making him sound amazing, but James was amazing like beforehand too.
Oh yeah, and like I heard it before Mike even touched it. And, like damn, these drums, man.
He's on another level.
Yeah.
Would you recommend Morse code to your friends?
Oh, without a doubt.
Yay!
I put like 5 stories out. Like you guys gotta listen to this.
Yay! Aww. Thanks, Xavier. That's so nice.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Xavier.
Thank you so much. This
Yeah,
was
no problem,
fun.
guys.
Yeah, yay!
Have a good one, man.
Bye, have a nice day.
That man is a cool guy. I really like Xavier. I think he's awesome. And it's always fun talking with him because he's a huge Radiohead fan. So I like talking music with him. And I'm really excited for his mixtape because he's been working really hard this summer.
And I learned a lot from him too.
Yeah, no, he's
I learned a lot.
he's a great guy. He's always willing to like teach people, and all in all, the track was sounding awesome, and that's really how it came to be. I did kind of a basic mix of where I wanted things to go and try to organize it as best as possible, but my strengths don't really line mixing. He sent the song over to an amazing human who is also a fantastic producer and an amazing mixer.
So I guess we'll have to chat with him about what a great job he did. But that's a story for another episode. Remember to give this a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button down below. But also, and more importantly, remember to create, express yourself, and please be vulnerable. Thanks so
Have a
much,
great night, guys.